Hi, I'm Rocket with Wreckless Blenders, and welcome to another Musings from Rocket Cellar. It's Friday again, and it has been another hell of a week, and I'm not afraid to say that. It is just one thing after another right now, and I'll keep checking in with you, making sure you're doing okay, making sure you're taking care of yourself. Take a few moments every day, check in with yourself. Check in with your higher power if you seek a higher power. Check in with your gut if you check your gut. I wanted to do three things today. One, I'm going to talk about the curbside events because I want to make sure that there isn't any confusion because we have two separate locations going. Two, I'm going to talk a little bit about the I Vote coupon code. I know I gave it away a little early. That's cool. And then three, I'm going to talk about the new wine. I'm likely going to do multiple of these on the new wine because it's so exciting, but I did want at least to let one of the cats out of the bag. So the curbside events, we have two. We have one that's in the Bay Area in Concord. That's at my place. We have one in Carmichael, and that's where the winery is. And so I send these out across both. You know, if you've signed up to get these emails or check these out, or you're checking us out on Facebook, know that we have these two locations. I don't do as many events in Concord, and it's not because I don't like you. It's just because things tend to get really busy at the winery, and I tend to be going to Carmichael on a regular basis. So, no offense to the Bay Area peeps, but I wanted to make sure you got taken care of. So there's actually two curbside events in Concord. So let me cover those very quickly, and then I'll pivot over to the one in Carmichael. So the first one is on October 30th, this coming Friday. Starting about 4 p.m., just drop by the house. I'll have a little table set up out front in the driveway, and you can come pick up your wine. We have a number of orders that have been placed, and I'll be happy to fill them up. You take care of yourselves, and go from there. So the second one we're having at Concord is on November 7th. Again, that's in Concord, November 7th. That's a week following that Friday on the Saturday. Okay, so Saturday, November 7th. Noon until 4. All right, that's the Bay Area. If you can't make the Friday, you can make the Saturday. If you can make both, all right, that's cool for you. Now, one of the things that I wanted to do on the Saturday, the 7th, is I hope to have some of the two new wines, the rosé and the one I'm going to talk about in a little bit, on hand, just to sample, just a small, probably a 350, a little taste, just so you get an idea what's going to go down. And okay, so now we're going to pivot over to Carmichael, so the winery. This is JT's house, JT's place, and you can drop by there and see us on October 31st. That's a Saturday. It's a week from tomorrow, in fact. If I get this out on Saturday night or Friday night, I might not get this out until Saturday. In that case, it's a week from today. So either way, normal curbside event at the winery on October 31st from noon until 4-ish. And I always say 4-ish because sometimes we're there until 5. And if you don't get there right at 4, not a big deal. So we're enjoying the heck out of these curbside days because it's a chance for us to connect with you when we all can't get together and have a big event. So just take advantage of it. We're likely doing these at the end of each month. So the last Saturday of each month is probably where we're going to do the Carmichael ones. And potentially, we'll see how this plays out. I might keep doing one in the Bay Area on the first Saturday of the month. Got to check that out. So we're going to see. So no promises yet. Right on. So the I Vote thing. So coupon code right now, October and November. Voting is a civic responsibility. It is having your voice heard. I know at times it feels like it is just you're yelling into the wind, but it makes a big difference. And so I wanted to put our money where your mouth is when it comes to voting. It's an awkward way to say that. Maybe there's a different way, but that's what came out. So the idea here is iVote is the coupon code when you go to the new store website. So store.wrecklessblenders.com. Now the cool thing is now it pops up right away and it says, okay, which location do you want to go to? So before you had to fumble around and it was this crazy maze to figure out if you wanted to do anything with the Bay Area location. Now it pops up first thing. So you get to pick that, and you got 3 options. You have, I'm going to come pick it up. You have, I'll deliver it, and we basically have basically a 30-mile radius between both locations, the Bay Area and Sacramento. And and if you live in that, we're happy to come drive it, bring it to you. And then lastly, if you're in California, our shipping system really should only work in California right now. You can have it shipped to you. So again, iVote, take advantage of it. It's a nice discount. It is a really nice discount. And I really want to celebrate our civic responsibility in this time, in this season of voting, not only at the national level, I'm thinking at the state, the district, the county, just, the city. All of these things are very important right now. Making your voice heard is incredibly important. So let's pivot over to the next topic, Thanksgiving. Wait, what? You said, Rocket, at the beginning, you said we're going to talk about the new wine. Well, yeah, I'm going to talk about the new wine a little bit. The idea here is Thanksgiving. So these 2 location events, we've got the 2 events in Concord and the 1 event in Carmichael, will be the last opportunity you have before Thanksgiving, unless you actually go out of your way and buy some. You can come by and you can check it out with us on these events. And if you want to come by and pick some wine up, this is a great opportunity before Thanksgiving. Now, what wine goes with turkey? If you do turkey, now ham is a whole different topic. I'm gonna stick to turkey because it's harder to match turkey with a good wine, especially a red wine. So if you're gonna go with a red wine, look for something bright. Okay, that's why cranberry, a lot of people like cranberry with turkey. It's that brightness that gets offset, and especially with stuffing. Now, stuffing creates this really interesting mouthfeel, and red wine just doesn't sit up and take notice, especially big, bold red wines. It's much harder to have that and appreciate the wine with the meal. I've taken either a Cab Franc, if I have one, and it's got to be a brighter Cab Franc. It's got to be more on the supple kind of French style Cab Franc versus the big, heavy Cab Franc. So if I'm going to take one, I'll take one of those more supple ones. But the one that always works is the Barbera. Now, Barbera is one of my favorite grapes, and you've heard me say that about every single one of our wines. In this case, I tend to go out of my way for our Barbera. And it is bright, and it is elegant, and it just matches the turkey meal, the Thanksgiving meal, perfectly. You can have it as an appetizer, the appetizer wine, or you can have it as the main course wine, either one. It works really good. But the other wines that work better, rosé works nicely, especially if you find a good balanced rosé. That'll match your turkey. Usually it can make that bridge between kind of the heavier foods and your earlier foods. But the one that always works, almost inevitably, is a white wine. Yeah, do you feel something? I do. And the Wreckless Blenders have been making wine in different forms for over 30 years. The small group of people that started way back in the late 80s, it has evolved. The number and types and the people have evolved, and we went commercial in 2007. But during that time, the group made at least one white wine. They made a Sauvignon Blanc. Now, the Wreckless Blenders and the Wreckless Wives have said we should make a white wine at some point. But we're not going to make a Sauvignon Blanc. Why? Why would we make a Sauvignon Blanc? You can get them anywhere. They're a dime a dozen. They're kind of like, it's just a given. We're not making givens, okay? That's why we're not going to make a Chardonnay. I'm not a huge Chardonnay fan for whatever reason. I went out of my way looking for a really good California Chardonnay, not the big buttery kind and not the really super astringent kind, but I was trying to find something. And I've come to the conclusion that at least in California, I don't like the Chardonnay flavors. Now there are Chardonnays from France that are a completely different set of things that I enjoy the heck out of. But in this case, we said, look, we're not going to make a Chardonnay. We're not going to make a Sauvignon Blanc. What would we make? Oh, you know, there's Pinot Gris. Not a huge fan of that right now. Just haven't found one that I enjoy as much. Well, what about Viognier? Viognier, you've probably heard of Viognier, the white wine for red wine drinkers. It's got this really interesting set of flavors. And yeah, we kind of said we didn't think that was right either. And it's a little harder to find and it's a little esoteric. So we said, well, what about an Albarreño? It's a Spanish, beautiful white wine that, you know, and we've got the Portuguese and some interesting things. And there's not a huge amount of Albarreños out there. We wanted to go there. And so Jim Brown went on this quest to find an Albarreño. Instead, what Jim Brown found was a Fiano. Fiano? What the heck is a Fiano? Well, some person in near the old sugar mill in that area was growing this Fiano. And Jim Brown reached out and said, where the heck did you come from? This is amazing. You're growing this Fiano. And so we got basically a 60 gallons of it in grapes, a ton, half a ton, I think. And we are so excited about this wine. I can't tell you. So yeah, a little brief history, not a huge history here, is when the Greeks came to Italy for conquering, I guess, what they were met with when they landed was Fiano. This is very, very old grapes. This is from ancient times. And there's a history here about how they were saved and how they found a small plot and then they were able to clone that and it branched out. And somehow it was imported in, the clones was imported in here in California. We find this Fiano. Now there's a couple of places we went out on a quest to see, well, what is a good Fiano? And there's somebody in Russian River who has a Fiano. And then we found an Italian Fiano. So, okay, so Fiano is an Italian grape, if you didn't figure that out already. So the Russian River one has a more California feel to it. And if you like the California feel to your wines, you're probably going to be okay with that. We didn't overly appreciate where that went, right? We decided that we wanted to kind of sing the grapes' praises, and the grapes' praises tend to be very bright. And they have this nice through line in the palate, and it is something to behold. There's a really interesting piece of history here. So John Triano, his family is from Italy. And when they traced back where the Triano family came from, just right over the hill, right over the mountain, on the other side is where the Fiano grapes were, just rediscovered or came from or originated from. So we're thinking this is going to be a Fiano de Triano label. Now, I may regret this, but I'm having to make a new label for this wine. And I'm going to do my best to sit down here in front with you and muse about the label creation process. And Jim Brown, in his amazing back labels and descriptions, has already come up with the perfect back label for this wine. At some point before we conclude this and before this goes on sale, I will read that to you. In the meantime, I have to come up with something that kind of matches our excitement about this grape and fits within the construct of the Wreckless labels. They have this, there's a very particular style that I go after. At least there's an overarching style. but I don't know where inspiration is going to come from. I already have 2 labels queued up that I made kind of as a placeholder. And at some point, I will bring those up and I will talk about why I think they may match or may not match this Fiano grape. But I'm also with eyes open and creativity, you know, I'm letting the universe kind of guide me on, is there a different label for this wine? Because it is pretty special. It's our first commercial white wine. And I know that it feels we've got a complete lineup now. We've always done red wine, and it's always been, well, which of the red wines do you want us to make less of or take out, right? So that we can make room for a white. Well, this year we were able to accommodate a little bit more, not a huge amount more, but just enough more where we have the rosé and we have the white wine. Interesting thing about whites and rosés is the cycle time for staying in barrel is way shorter. Normally you keep a red wine in barrel for about 18 months, and that lets it go through a full complete cycle. It lets all the flavors meld. It gives it time if we want to put it on oak. So, it's just a traditional thing where, you know, you've got it in barrel by, let's say, October, and 18 months later, so usually in March, April, May time frame, we bottle, depending on where we think the wines are. With white wines, it's usually 4 months, sometimes a little bit more, 4 to 6 months. So we fully expect to have one or both of these ready for you to buy at the spring event. Now, the spring event, based on our trajectory of dealing with things, may be one of these curbside events, but you know, we're not going to open up until we feel comfortable that it's the right thing to do. So just recognize that we're not going to do an in-person event unless it's safe for everyone to do so. But we will continue the curbside events. There's not going to be a lot of either the rosé or the white. So if you're going to want this, if you're going to want some, you're going to want to put your order in early. Now, if you've listened to this point and you're like, yeah, sign me up, it's Wreckless Blenders, of course they're going to make an awesome white. Of course we're going to make an awesome white. Email me, rocket@wrecklessblenders.com. Let me know you want me to put something on hold for you. I've already got somebody put a hold on a case of rosé, and there's only going to be like 4 or 5 cases of that rosé for sale. And so if you've listened this far, you've got the pro tip. You can send me an email, say you want 5 bottles, 6 bottles, a case, whatever you want to set aside. I'll make note of it and we'll track it. Now, the first group of people these go to are the wine club members, period. Not necessarily the public. So I will put aside as much wine as I can that doesn't satisfy 2 bottles of each to the wine club, right? If you're not in the wine club, go to the website. There's a wine club link, and then there's a form you can fill out to say you're interested in it. I have to do it that way because there's a finite number of people that I can support in the wine club. Otherwise, we run out of allocation. So you can put your name in there, and I will get you set up. I'll collect a little bit more information, assuming you can make it in. And then you at least get 2 bottles of each of these, right? So something to keep in mind. Long way around this. Now, some of you are like, oh, I'm just a red wine drinker and I don't care about that white stuff. That's fine. I understand. I completely understand. And I'm just excited because we found something so different and so unique that I can't tell you how wonderful it is. We get there and we start some work, and next thing you know, we get a taste of rosé, and then we get a little taste of the Fiano, and this brightness shows up, and we're all like, this is great. We're so excited. Well, that was a long way and it's been a long haul here. If you've been watching these, you know that for at least 4 months now, I've been teasing this. And of course, you saw this picture early on. And yeah, those are white wine grapes. And you knew that it was probably going to be a white because it would be hard to turn those grapes into red. But I had a number of, and I had I had a bunch of people guess. And I was thrilled that they were guessing. And every one of them was wrong. Like, who would pick Fiano, right? It's not a wine that, it's not a grape or a varietal that a lot of people know, especially here in the States. It's huge in Italy. I mean, it is a big deal there. It is not here. So as you can tell, I'm super excited about this. I hope you get excited about it as well. I hope you take advantage of the I Vote coupon code between now and the end of November. It is a great opportunity to pick up some Wreckless Blenders with a nice discount. With that, I want to say I'm Rocket. This has been another Musings from Rocket Cellars. Take care.